Here's my presentation for this week. I read an article on Space News about private industry aims to fill demand for space threat intelligence. Um, I saw that title, that'll be interesting, and my guess as to what it was completely off. I thought it was going to be a cybersecurity type thing, and it ended up more being about space domain awareness, which is, if you didn't know, it's a means to about understanding what's going on in space. So understanding all the different moving parts and things like that. A big part of that is space object tracking. So right now, I believe it's the Space Force, it used to be the Air Force, would track all the little objects in space. So that wasn't a NASA thing, that was a military thing. They would track all the little particulates and all the little pieces and nuts and bolts and debris and then all the satellites and space shuttles and all that that's in space. But every little piece has to be tracked so that way we don't have any collisions in space and don't have any problems. We don't get a lot of damage out there. Uh, so right now that's the military doing that. And this article talks about how the private industry wants to start filling in for that. However, there's concerns from the military that the biggest concern is vendor lock-in, where once you get uh, into a vendor or two, then the Department of Defense will become dependent on that one specific vendor, their specific technology and service that you can't change in or out of that because you're locked into that. Um, but the vendors are like, no, no, that's not going to happen. One of them, I don't remember which one it was, stated that it's kind of like an iPhone. You can buy an iPhone, but you're not locked into that. But then one of the comments on the article was that the iPhone is actually a perfect example of what vendor lock-in is, because once you buy into that, even though you can change, you've bought all these apps or music, TV, you've bought all these chargers specifically for an iPhone, and now you have to reinvest into, if you're switching to an Android phone, you have to reinvest into everything else, transferring over your apps, your movies, your books, your music. Though Android can use some of the iPhone apps, uh, or I don't know if they can or not. I have never used iPhone, but you'd have to rebuy some of your apps. You have to rebuy different chargers. You have to switch over, and there's going to be that learning curve every time they'd have to switch providers. And so that's something the DoD is worried about. And I actually think that's a very valid concern, even though these vendors are trying to play it down, because, like I said, if you have to switch like that every time, it's going to raise costs, it's going to impede the service you're getting, things like that. Um, and another one of my concerns, I don't believe it was addressed in the article, was lack of consistent cybersecurity. So if you're using a bunch of uh, public industry groups, they're all going to have different ways of providing cybersecurity. Even if you're using two or three of them, they're each going to have their own way, and you provide a baseline, but they're going to go about it different ways. And if you're switching or you're trying to intermingle certain ones, you're going to create more gaps than if you had just done it yourself like they're doing right now, because there's gaps between different companies. Sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse, and you can't easily see what's going on with that. So that's one of the concerns that I was thinking about it from a cybersecurity standpoint. Um, and that was just a real quick, not real quick, that's 4 minutes overview of my article. Thank you.